at this point, Trump is going to be the president for the next 4 years. And regardless if you like it or not, he's going to be the president. So Snoop didn't even come out and make his affiliations known. He said, hey, they want me to perform at this thing. And why not? So we're back to wrap up January 2025, which has been an eventful one, which I feel like I say every time, but like January feels like a very long year. We're going to talk about some things that we saw and go from there. So I have my co-host, Aaron. I am K Styles. Where do you want to start, man? I feel like we did a little section on the whole inauguration thing, so we're gonna try to keep, I guess, some of the political stuff to a minimum as possible. I don't even know how that's possible because it's been all that. But what do you want to start, sir?
January has definitely been a very heavily politicized month, so I guess it's somewhat impossible to avoid it all.
Yeah.
I guess starting probably would be with the inauguration of your president, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
You mean our? I think you put a Y.
Our?
you put a Y that didn't belong. don't put that.
See, I didn't vote for him or against him, so they say, I recede.
They say by not voting, you voted.
Oh yeah. So if by not voting, who did I vote for?
They said the no vote is a vote for Trump.
Oh really? Wow. Okay. All right. I mean, who's saying this?
Who knows? The internet. Huh. Who cares?
Interesting. It's funny that not voting is a vote for Trump, as opposed to not voting is a vote for Miss Harris. I don't know how that works, but okay.
Hey, it is what it is. Either way, yeah, I mean, we talked about the inauguration stuff in our highlight, so, I mean, we can also put some clips in there from that. But I think after the inauguration and some of the executive orders, first of all, do we even have a number how many executive orders? I think he has set the record for the amount of executive orders he has passed.
Executed.
Bro, yeah. It's like, at this point, it's not even like, what are you doing? Like, I remember they complained about Obama doing it, and he did it was like 20.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't think the number was that high.
I mean, he's following through on promises he made, I guess. That's really what it boils down to, right? Because everything he was signing is everything he was saying that he was going to do. I mean, if it's one thing, I will say to his credit or discredit, I don't know, however you look at it, he seems to be going full force ahead with a lot of the things that he was kind of saying before the presidency. So I guess all of those executive orders that were being signed is just things that he said that he would be doing. He's just following through on.
It's very fascinating, though, because the one that I think that is most interesting is the immigration stuff, because they kept saying that was going to be an expensive thing. And then you see him go to toe with Colombia. And it's like, it's very fascinating that he was able to do that. And I think it's one of the things that, barring some like ridiculousness, it would probably one of those things that, would be a part of his legacy, because he said he was going to do it. Other presidents have said, well, no, not really. Other presidents have complained about immigration. Outside of Obama, I think he's going to probably have the highest record for deportation, which people don't realize Obama was high in that. Yeah.
I heard that Obama was like the biggest in terms of deportation. Indeed. So yeah, maybe he will be. Maybe he will be the biggest. It'll be. I mean, so far it seems like it's causing a lot of calamity out there. I'm hearing ISIS pulling up everywhere. I'm hearing, and this is only just hearsay. I have not gone out on the street to confirm this because my nearest Home Depot doesn't actually have that going on in front. But a lot of Home Depots where I used to live out in Queens, they definitely had a bunch of, you would see either African looking or Hispanic looking people standing there very early in the morning on a daily basis. I heard those Home Depots, they're empty now. You go there in the morning, no one's there, because they know that ICE knows that would be a hot spot to start pulling up and grabbing a bunch of people. So I heard they're not there anymore.
I saw somebody post too. They're like, everybody who's complaining about like, not having a job now that these people are, being removed, that now you should
Go
be
for
showing
it.
up. And I'm like, they're not wrong, but like, I just feel like it's interesting because we're not going to see the effects of the destabilizing effects of how this is done right now, but we will see in like 6 months.
Do you
So
think that they're going to deport so many people that you will see certain industries become destabilized as a result?
I think so, primarily because um, I know we had an influx of people, but there's still certain industries that actually require, like this labor, especially when you start talking about farming and stuff like that. And those areas, if you know that you're going to go to work and get deported, would you go to work?
That's true. They're saying the restaurant industry in big cities is going to take a big hit because a lot of the kitchen workers were usually
That
those kind of people.
it says something about America that we're in this position because if you're literally going to feel this level of of efforts or effects from this choice, and these are the ramifications of these decisions, why were these people in these positions in the first place? That means that like
Cheap labor. Cheap labor. Companies, businesses, these businesses that are hiring these people, they don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to pay for medical. They don't want to pay dental. They don't want to. There's a lot of tax loopholes that they're circumventing by hiring illegal immigrants. So that's who's going to really be hurt is all those smaller businesses who have been kind of, as I said, circumventing the legal method of hiring actual employees. And the either when you're talking about either American citizens or American people who have become naturalized, they're gonna have certain complaints. They're gonna have certain wants. They're gonna want tuition reimbursement. They're gonna want medical, dental. They're going to want a W-2. They're gonna want all these different things. And these companies, they're not willing to pay all of that money. So that's who's gonna really be hurt is all of the businesses that are getting around paying for actual benefits for employees. That's
well,
where you're going to see the biggest impacts. It's
the thing that bothers me the most about that is that the people who are being deported are feeling the ramifications of their illegal part of that job, but the business owners, are they being fined? Because
I don't
theoretically,
know.
yeah, theoretically they're doing something wrong as well.
Correct,
They're
correct.
providing a job to this person and they're doing it off the books, which, one could
It's
argue is
tax
also, yeah,
evasion.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the effects are for the people who've been hiring them, so I can't really say. I guess we'll have to wait and see because it
Time will
is
tell.
still a very new initiative that has only been underway for the past week or so. So as the time goes by in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we're gonna start getting a lot more information as to what's been taking place as a result of this mass deportation that's currently underway. So
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
time will tell. I mean, the couple of things I said, I was trying so hard, but I really don't know if we have much stuff that's not connected to politics. But like the uh, um, the plan where they decided to go and tell federal workers that they if they take this buyout, they get paid till September, and essentially they did it without like Congress's approval, which was the freezing of the funds. It's just so much of this stuff is happening, and it's like it's actually kind of annoying.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of like I mean I feel it. I'm blessed that I'm not in that the federal government, so I'm not like worrying about my job. But I mean, it's gonna have a ripple effect eventually to certain industries. So it. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Honestly, I don't even know much about the buyout thing. But in terms of the ripple effect, everything that's done in government is always going to have a negative and a positive reaction. It's one of those things that it's so early, it's hard to tell. It may be more negative than positive, or it may be the other way around. Me personally, I don't have any real thoughts on it. It's more so we're just seeing things happen that we knew would happen as a result of him being in office. So it's really More so, for me at least, kind of just sitting back and watching the clown show play out, because that's how I feel about politics as a whole now. It's just a clown show. I don't
Yeah.
care what side of the fence you stand on. It's all just foolishness. It seems like none of them really know what they're doing. It's all Democrat versus Republican, and I don't think there's really any push to really do what's best for the people. It's just about who's going to show up and get whatever their terms are met, and that's it.
Yeah. There was a couple of things that I saw where in one of the executive orders he removed the need to um, disclose that you're getting campaign that money from like lobbyists, which I was like, that's a wild thing to do because it's like I feel like he's just trying to run it up, man. And
Usher in bribes.
I mean, that's we have gone to the Wild West. You know, like everything is going to be interesting. So it's funny because they're like, yeah, we want to cut government spending and all of this stuff, but I'm like, yeah, we also want to include your ability for your government to be bought out, which that literally should not be the case. But um,
Yeah.
one of the other things is the unfortunate accident in DC. And as someone who has like like I aspirations to be a part of the aviation thing, it's like it's terrifying because like these things happen all over the world, but we've made it like such a big deal to ensure that it doesn't happen here. I mean, it's been a long time. This is the worst casualty since 9/11. So
Really? Okay.
yeah. Um it's just crazy to so like to think that happened, and also to send positive thoughts out to the family. Like that's imagine just being on the receiving end of that. I can't imagine.
A mid-air collision. Imagine that you're on a commercial flight 1 minute and next minute you're colliding with a government helicopter, a Black Hawk. Definitely, as they say, thoughts and prayers to all of the victims and their families, but
Yeah,
that's pretty insane.
it's kind of
Is
crazy.
that the same? Because I'm not too familiar with DC as a whole, but is that the same waterway that we recently were?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, that's devastating.
Yeah,
That's insane.
it's very wild. I mean, and there was a lot of things they were saying that like that is one of the few federally owned airports, and I think a lot of the stuff like had happened, like they had removed like the head of TSA, and then because of Elon's stuff with he had gotten something from a one of the FAA advisors, like because didn't follow some security thing for his SpaceX thing, so he kind of knew. I guess he was in the chopping block and resigned. So all of that stuff happened right away, and it was just like the biggest thing about this that bothered me the most. We had a conversation, I think, spirited conversations about it in our group chat. So I don't think we go that deep, but the whole DEI comment was the cause for this. It's just is wild to me. It's wild primarily coming from the president because normally when there's tragedy, you normally want the person in charge to be like, we understand this is a big issue and not make it about politics. But then we got Trump's response. So
Well, if he's gonna have an opportunity to paint one of his initiatives in a positive light, what better way than to take a tragic event and somehow find a way to tie it in with what you're doing to now garner even more support behind one of your initiatives, almost legitimize what you've been saying and what you've been doing. So that's really all that it is. I mean, this is a very opportunistic individual. So he took the opportunity to do that, which obviously that's in poor taste because right now, what we should be focused on is the fact that, one, there's a bunch of lives that were lost, first off. Secondly, we have to go back and kind of look at where the mistakes were made, where there were, I guess, holes in the process, because the FAA and these individuals that are employed to pretty much constantly monitor airspace and be able to determine when a flight can land, when a flight can take off, where it can go. Like these guys have, from my understanding, one of the most stressful jobs in the United States of America,
Yeah.
to the point where not only are they very well paid, but you can't even work a certain amount of hours in that job because you have to have a certain level of focus and ability to pay attention to what's going on. So my main concern is more so, I mean, outside of this whole DEI thing that he brought up, where was the quote unquote ball dropped? And that's where we need to start focusing on this tragedy so that something like this doesn't happen
Never
again.
happens again. Yeah.
But
100%.
rather than, I guess, provide a more confidence to the nation that something like this will not happen again, which it was said that something like this will not happen again. He did take an opportunity there to make a dig at DEI, and I'm not sure what his real intent was other than being opportunistic, because I don't even know details of who was flying.
Yeah.
Were they quote unquote DEI, you know?
Well, the funny thing about it too is that if you look at his, they've been going and digging in onto his history, and there was a point where at the
Whose
end
history?
of Trump,
Okay.
and the end of his term, there was some Obama initiatives that he expanded on or didn't change. So the DEI thing that's in place technically was stuff that he expanded on, and so it's very interesting that like there's no talk of that, right? Like
When you say he expanded on it, what does that mean?
it was a point about adding the ability for people with disabilities to be ATC. So
Okay.
and apparently what they said is that if he felt so strongly that this could have caused a problem, he could have removed it in 2020 in his last term, and he didn't. He actually
That's
expanded.
really where the sore spot is for me.
Yeah, he expanded on it. So, it's very interesting that he's now blaming that. What's the sore spot there, I guess?
The sore spot is the fact that, as you mentioned, he expanded on it. I guess you're saying that this was a program that was initially brought into the ATC by Obama, and Trump expanded on it, meaning
Yes.
that he made it even more widely open for quote unquote people who would be considered DEI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of a sore spot for me, because why that industry specifically? Why that?
Well, I think one of the key things about this is that there are a lot of shortage in the airline industry right now. There's shortage
Okay.
of pilots. And to my knowledge, I might be wrong, but there's a shortage of people working in ATC as well. And also,
A shortage of qualified individuals, or just shortage of people who are even interested in the job, period?
I think it's across the board. I think
Okay.
for both of those careers, there's a certain level of time you have to acquire before you could even be qualified. So it's not like you could just bring somebody in. It's like you can't bring in like some people from Home Depot to do that. So like it's not that easy to find people, and that's with the pilot thing. It's the same thing. I think you need to have, I think it's like upward of 400 hours flying, and you have to have multiple certifications before you could even get a job, and in the lower levels, like in the smaller regional airlines. So I think there are people that, and this is, I don't want to go too deep into this because I feel like we could go off.
Yeah.
But like my issue with grouping people together with the DEI initiatives has backfired to the point where it automatically means that this person's it means to a lot of people that they're unqualified. Whereas like literally you can fall into the diversity or inclusion thing by having something as simple as diabetes or something like that, right? Like you can
Really?
because you have a disability.
Diabetes is considered a disability?
That was a protected class. So
okay, that's weird. Okay.
but that's what I'm saying. So like we've grouped a bunch of stuff together, and now there's a space where it's like people are like, oh yeah, if they automatically add that tag to you, you're unqualified. So we're
Yeah.
it's a conversation for another time. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the biggest stories that happened in the month of January, so it's being mentioned simply because of that. But I think all of the political and social topics that surround that specific issue kind of is its own thing. And if you are an avid watcher of the In Crowd Network, there is an episode on DEI that has been recorded and uploaded. I implore you to go check it out.
agreed, because I think that there's a lot about this that was like, it seemed like it was like a perfect solution, but or even affirmative action. A lot of these programs that existed, they didn't really benefit the people that people expected, and so as a result, they ended up with we ended up with the negatives of it, and people don't realize. But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
moving along.
it really is.
How do you feel about the whole Snoop Dogg thing? Because that was that was also, I think that was like, that would have been January because he performed in the,
Of course, yeah, at the
inauguration,
the crypto event that was held where Trump wasn't even present, but because he performed at an event that was associated with Trump, he is being, I guess, heavily criticized by the black community because he made statements 8 years ago about anyone performing for Trump is a quote unquote coon. Is that what he said?
Something to that effect.
Yeah. So how do I feel about it personally? I don't care. I think that he might have been in a specific space 8 years ago that he's not in. And if people don't know, Snoop is heavily in the crypto community. He's had NFTs. He's an investor. He's been part of marketing campaigns. So because Trump is the first U.S. president to ever really recognize and support cryptocurrencies, and this is an industry that Snoop is pretty much well embedded into, it kind of just makes sense to me that he would perform there. Plus, on top of that, he is a performer first, right? Before anything political, I would assume. And if you're called upon to perform at an event and it does not go against your own moral values, why not perform? Yeah, he made a statement 8 years ago, but is that still his current mindset? Is that still his current stance? Is an individual not allowed to change their opinion on a matter that they may have felt a different way about almost a decade ago? I don't know. Personally, I don't think I would hold him to a specific opinion just because he made it 8 years ago. But, there are people, that's kind of the way their minds work. If you said it, I'm always holding you to it and you can never change from that. So I guess that's where he is. He's taken a lot of backlash. I know that he did come out and say, focus on yourself instead of what I'm doing. And I agree with that. I think that people have way too much time. They're way too connected. They're so focused on what another man is doing in terms of his own political views and his own financial ability to take care of himself and his family in the manner he sees fit. Go do something with yourself. If this is something that is really concerning and bothersome for you, you should spend more time evaluating yourself as a human being, not Snoop.
Yeah, and I think at the core, some of this stuff is that we've gotten to a place where people are so extreme with their opinions. It's either you see this, you choose this side, or you choose that side. And truthfully, a lot of the stuff is in the middle. There's a couple things about the Snoop one versus the Nelly one that I thought was hilarious. But I think that in the Snoop one, he actually, like, Trump had pardoned at the end of his term last time, had pardoned Harry O, who was a like one of the founding members of Death Row. And so, and like Snoop owns Death Row now, the Death Row Records now. So, like that was somebody directly connected to him. So I can understand why he would be like his approach would be different. One. And then two, I also feel like the thing that we're upset is that he went and performed at this ball. And I know that they gave Chrisette Michele tons of crap last time when she did it. And they also when Ice Cube met with Trump and Kanye met with Trump and all these
Problems.
people, everybody. But then what happened from it? Because people were upset about Ice Cube doing it, and then nothing really happened from it. So it's like the initial backlash that you get from doing some of this stuff doesn't really match to what people remember. People don't remember that about. So it's like, yo, what does it matter? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm pretty sure both him and Nelly got paid handsomely for that.
And Soldier Boy.
Oh, Soldier Boy was in there too.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have anything for Soldier Boy, but I think the key thing with that too is that I don't think that people realize that, like, at this point, Trump is going to be the president for the next 4 years, and regardless if you like it or not, he's going to be the president. So, are you just never going to talk, like, you're never going to talk to anybody that like there are a lot of people that voted for Trump, and you know what? Snoop didn't even come out and make his affiliations known. He said, hey, they want me to perform at this thing, and why not? Because my thing is, if he was in the realm that what they did when they were running for Obama initially, where they got all these people to come out and they were like, yeah, look, all the cool people are voting, supporting Obama, right? And if Snoop had done that for Trump, like before he won, I can understand the upset, because then you're like, well, you're literally did something to make it look like it was cool, like the Amber Roses of the world, right? Like, who have made it very clear they're super Trump fans. It didn't really matter. And I don't think Amber Rose had the power to sway anybody.
No, of course not. Other than sluts, because she's got the slut walk thing. So maybe she swayed some sluts.
I wasn't expecting.
That's what she runs.
I hear you. I just wasn't expecting it. So as clearly as you can see, based on my response, I was a little taken aback. But I think that Snoop, based on where Snoop has been, and Snoop is like a icon, and one of the few icons we have that's not completely clouded with controversy. So one could say Snoop can lead people in a direction. So I can understand people if he was jumping out there beforehand and saying, yeah, like, let's ride for Trump, I can understand. But at this point, he's already won. Are you not going to work with him? Why would you miss a, like, I'd be intrigued to see, I've been watching this Mr. Beast show. I don't know if you know, he has like a show on Amazon where it's kind of like, I was going to say Hunger Games, but what's the other Netflix thing that came out recently for the season 2? God damn it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The Asian one. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. But essentially it's like that, but it's in
Squid Games.
Squid Games. So it's like that, and you get points where you could like win money. And in one of the episodes, everybody had agreed, like they gave him $1 million, and everybody agreed to take. It was 10 people. Everybody agreed to take 100,000. But the order you're in was different, and everybody's like, yeah, we're gonna play fair. The third guy took $600,000. And I'm like, truthfully, you don't get to see what people look like, people gonna do under pressure. It's very easy to stand there on this, high in the soapbox about morality. But if you were a celebrity and you were offered to be paid to do this, would you turn it down on your morals? That's the question.
Yeah, for sure.
So
listen, when everything is down to what they say at the end of the day,
the brass tacks,
people are going to do what benefits them.
Yep.
There's not a lot of people that are that selfless that they're going to do what benefits the greater cause. A lot of people are going to do what benefits them. So a lot of these people that make all of these statements, if put in the same position, would probably do the same thing.
The exact same thing. Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting. And I mean, even I saw like people were like, yeah, I'm very disappointed in them. The one thing that I find very fascinating is that we keep saying that, like, as Black people, we're not a monolith, but yet when people do things that doesn't go with the grain, you expect that they're gonna do, and I'm like, I don't know why we expect that, and it's like, it's a very interesting place to be. But moving along, I guess keeping it pretty close to the music stuff, because we don't really. I feel like we did the politics already. So one thing we were talking about when we were prepping for this was like the Kendrick Lamar stuff and, getting ready for the Super Bowl and all the. We don't even need to talk about Drake and his attempt at being the perfect hip hop Karen with all the lawsuits that he's doing. But
Mr. Max Win.
bro, it's just crazy. But one of the things that we stumbled on was the Joey Badass and his like attempts at being a part of this beef and his like records towards Kendrick and just I guess a general disdain for this. How this is? It's like I don't think Joey Badass has a lot of L's in his jacket, but yeah, it's kind of he got a couple for these. I mean, that's what I think. What do you have?
Yeah,
some
and I
feelings?
wouldn't consider this an L either. What I see this as is I could be wrong here, but I see this as kind of a grasp for attention. But he's also doing what we expect of a hip hop artist, which is if you have a problem with something, you put it on wax. I just don't think that he needed to insert himself into this because this is clearly something that took place between two juggernauts, which is Drake and Kendrick. The smoke has cleared. Why are you making this track? And then he just made another track and they're saying that he kind of directed that one at J. Cole. And again, J. Cole has been kind of quiet since the whole thing happened. I know that he released a podcast. I know that he has been releasing a lot of music from his old discography. I know that he put all of his older mixtapes up on streaming services. So he's been active in that sense, but he's not looking to be in any kind of battles with anyone. So I don't know. It seems kind of like, in my opinion, almost like he's chasing clout a little bit. Or maybe he saw this as an opportunity to kind of throw his hat into something that was going on. But I see this as being very unnecessary. I'm not sure why he decided to do it, but personally, I don't think it's something that should have been done. Yeah, it had a little bit of conversation, but for the most part, those tracks came and they went. And other than us discussing it right now, I haven't heard much conversation about it. It happened in the moment and then it moved on really quickly.
Well, the only reason I say it's an L is because it's opposite of what you would expect from Joey Badass. Like I feel like he's always been, I would say, authentic, right? Like from the beginning, and it's listening to just him as a kid in Brooklyn. Like I feel like he's always been pretty authentic, and I feel like once you start getting into the clout, what's classified as clout chasing, especially in the rap game, it's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
What are we doing here?
It leaves a bad taste in,
Yeah,
in
it's
your
just
mouth,
it's
so
not
to
a
speak.
not a good.
I
Look.
really
But
wish he hadn't done it, but it is what it is. And I don't even think the tracks were that good. I probably will
Damn.
never go back and listen to those tracks.
Damn.
I like his records. I've been listening to him since 1999, and I will continue to listen to his music. But these tracks, they came and they went. For me, it's a big non-issue that really should not have even happened. Hey, it spurred up a little conversation. Maybe that's what he wanted, but it quickly
it could have been
was
better. Yeah,
it was out of here.
he wasn't the only one because I remember it was Simba or whatever. He had dissed Kendrick too.
There's a
It's
few
just like,
people that came
and
out.
I'm just like, I feel you, but like, it just reminds me of the West Coast, East Coast beef with Biggie and Tupac, and how like the media was just running with it to the point where it was like, okay, now y'all doing too much.
But again, that was happening between two juggernauts.
Yeah.
So it made sense almost for the media to speak on it. But in this situation, it's like, if you're going to do something like that, let it be something real rather than something you're just conjuring for conversation.
Well, talking about, I guess in about losers taking L's, academic on his stream, I'm trying so hard not to bring him up because I have never met this man, but his antics make me don't like him at all, and I've been consistent about that from the beginning. The way that,
Very
Aaron,
much so.
you have a couple people on your list that you've been right about, but he's been on my list and
Forever.
and it's just the way he goes about things. He just doesn't strike me as somebody I would want to interact with.
I could understand that.
And he is just been on a tear now, and especially now after the whole Kendrick Drake thing, and he's like licking Drake's wounds for him, like a little sucker. Anyway, I try not to talk about it because it's strong feelings clearly, but like he was on a stream with this young kid, and I know there's a lot of specifics around this that I don't know, but he decided to like essentially make mention to like getting the kid was it prostitute to lose his virginity or something like that? And the kid,
it was him and some other dude that were on the stream, and the dude mentioned sending a couple of girls over there, and Akademiks kind of chimed in. And I think what made the matter worse is not so much the fact that they said things that were absolutely inappropriate, because we're talking about a 15-year-old boy here, which that kid, 15 years old, he handled himself
like
more like an adult than the actual adults in the conversation that we're talking about sending women in his direction. I think what rubbed people the wrong way most about the whole situation, I mean, don't get me wrong, people were rubbed the wrong way by what he was saying, but it was the reaction to the backlash. He basically went on his rants that he normally does. And in the rant, he was basically telling people that they can't cancel him because they didn't create his platforms or anything like that. He almost seemed to think that he was untouchable. And it's like, because I did this, all of the people that were saying something negatively about this or quote unquote kicking his back in, he felt like they should not have, because he supports them and none of them can do anything to him. And, he built this platform and he's uncanceled, when it had nothing to do with any of that. It was inappropriate. It should have just been acknowledged, found a better way to, I guess, conduct yourself in situations like that. Maybe issue an apology to the young man, acknowledge that it was wrong on your part, and move on. And he ultimately did do that, but the damage was already done once he had that rant session where he was pretty much going on about he can't be canceled, this, that, and the other. So I know he did lose. From my understanding, he lost his brand deal with Stake, which is like a online betting platform.
Damn.
My understanding is there's another, I can't remember the name of the actual product, but he lost another brand deal in that regards. And then from my understanding, he also got banned from Twitch, which is a big I didn't realize it was that financial hit to him. Yeah. So he's saying he can't be canceled, but you're talking to streamers. Meanwhile, all these bigger companies that are sponsoring you and putting money in your hands, they're hearing this as well. And they don't want quote unquote groomers on their payroll. And they definitely don't want someone who is not willing to take any sort of accountability for negative actions. So yeah, it's definitely, right now he's taking a lot of backlash from that.
And it's weird when people think that they can't be canceled, especially in this climate, and especially look at Fresh and Fit. Them dudes
they're still out there. They're still doing,
but not like they were before, right? So it's like,
right.
So to think that you could do anything and not get canceled is wild. It's wild. I mean, I guess I can understand. He even said something. He's like, yeah, all of these people who are feeling so strongly are just Kendrick fans. And I'm like, I don't understand how you brought it to that. I mean, I am a Kendrick fan, but that's not had nothing to do with this. You did some wild stuff, and then you had to deal with repercussions.
That is a blaring signal or siren to the lack of accountability, because instead of acknowledging where you went wrong and where you could do better, it's Kendrick fans. I wouldn't call myself a Kendrick fan. I like his music, but wrong is wrong. Who cares where it's coming from?
Yeah.
Who cares? So you're telling me that Drake fans support this behavior? Is that what I'm supposed to take from it? That does not look good for Drake. And I'm sure he does not want anything to do with you speaking to 15-year-olds because he already has his whole thing that he's dealing with. That man does not want any involvement with anything that has to do with young children. So why is Kendrick being brought up? Because to say that it's Kendrick fans kind of says the opposite. You're saying, okay, so the Drake fans didn't have a problem with this. It's the fans of Kendrick who have a problem with this. So that just lacks accountability, and it's kind of pointing blame away from where it needs to be. So,
but that's kind of his thing. I mean, I saw when he said the thing about LeBron James and
which is a situation he had no
he's a
place
sucker,
speaking on.
You're
not Drake. You're not LeBron. You're not associated with either one of these individuals and whatever problems they're having with each other. Why are you jumping out the window and talking about this man and whether or not he was having, twosomes, threesomes, whatever, bringing in the fact that he might have been having extramarital affairs? Like, why is that something that you're speaking on? I'm telling you, we live in a very interesting time, because I could tell you right now, before the internet, talking like that,
it's different. Yeah. You don't gotta say no more.
I'm not gonna say more, but
you don't gotta say no more. But at the core of his antics is just somebody who I feel like really wasn't outside. So
right.
you were able to do a lot of stuff because of that. You built up a fan base, and honestly, I'm not taking anything away from the platform he's built. I just don't like his antics.
Work ethic is crazy.
Yeah, I give credit where it's due. I just don't like his antics, and as a result, I want nothing to do with it. And like if to go back to this Snoop thing, like if 5 years from now, somebody comes and say, "Oh, you're chilling with Akademiks," it probably won't happen, because I do not like that guy, and I've never liked him.
Yeah,
and
that I could say changing. For sure you have. But it's okay to praise someone for their ambition and work ethic, and want nothing to do with the actual person that is behind 100%. That, because I could respect ethic. I could respect work ethic, and I could respect grind. I could respect ambition, but the person that it's attached to, have no respect for that person. I just like these qualities that they exhibit. So I could understand that.
Facts. But I think that's all we had. I mean, there's a lot of other things we could talk about, but I think we're gonna keep it short because we already did the inauguration, and plus I think at this point, we have gotten to the point where a lot of people are getting tired of talking about that. So we're just going to go ahead and like sometimes you need to know when to hold them and when to fold them.
Yeah.
We're folding right now. So
February's a whole other month. I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of foolery taking place in that month that has nothing to do with politics.
Yeah. If January is any indication, February is going to be
2025 is going to be an interesting year,
bro. And we're going to try to keep you all updated in the stuff that we see. We also we definitely have to bring back the Black Excellence section, because we need some shine on that, and we just gotta figure out how to do it. So many
examples of black trash. We need some sort of excellence.
We need some
to kind of plug in there somewhere.
So we'll try to find a way to do that. But if you made it this far, we definitely appreciate you. This has been Wrapped for January 2025.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Peace.